The fairy tale, The Little Bear Who Painted Dreams. In a little workshop in the forest lived a bear cub named Boo. He was an artist, but not a regular one. He was a sleepy artist because he didn't paint pictures. He painted dreams. Every day, Boo collected colors from nature. The blue of the sky, the sparkle of dew, the fluffiness of clouds, and the smell of baked apples. And when night came, he opened his notebook and started drawing dreams for everyone falling asleep. For someone, a ride on a flying dolphin. For someone else, meeting a kind giant made of candy. And some just wanted a soft blanket and a book. And that's what they got. The dreams were always different but always kind, because Boo painted them with love, and in the morning he hung the pictures on sunbeams, so the whole day would feel bright. The fairy tale, The Umbrella That Hid You from Worries. On the hanger by the door lived an umbrella. It was old, with faded drops on the fabric, but very dependable. Everyone thought it was just for rain, but actually it was magic. When someone in the house felt worried or sad, the umbrella quietly opened by itself. It knew it was time. Its cover would appear over the child or grown up, and everything around would pause. Under this umbrella, you couldn't argue, be scared, or cry. Only relax, breathe deep, and feel safe. Sometimes the umbrella would whisper, "It's okay, just stay under me for a bit." And the worry would calm down, thoughts would feel lighter. Then the umbrella would close and hang there again like nothing happened. But the ones who knew always smiled at it, because sometimes kindness is just being there. The fairy tale, The Pillow That Loved to Listen to Dreams. This pillow wasn't just a pillow. It looked normal, soft, white, with a neat pillowcase. But inside it held a little bit of magic, because it could listen to dreams. Every night, when the child lay down in bed, the pillow gently lifted itself like it was getting comfy too. It became a little warmer in the middle and a little cooler on the edge, just the way its little owner liked. When it would whisper, "Tell me what you want to see in your dream tonight. I'll remember it. I'll keep it safe until morning." Sometimes the child whispered back, "I want to fly," or meet a talking cat. And sometimes they just stayed quiet, nose pressed into the pillow. But the pillow still listened. Quietly, carefully, it soaked in the dreams like warm milk soaks up honey, gently and forever. And then, when the child was asleep, the pillow sent those dreams to one special star, the one that always shines a little brighter above their window. And that star watched over the sleep all night to keep it kind, bright, and warm. In the morning, the pillow acted like a regular pillow again, but only it knew what magic happened under someone's cheek that night. Sleep well, your pillow is already waiting for your dream. The Fairy Tale: Pajamas for Sleeping and Flying. One evening, a boy got a new pair of pajamas. They were striped, soft, and had a tiny star in the corner, almost hidden but very special. The boy put on the pajamas and suddenly he felt them move just a little, like they took a small breath. Then he heard a quiet whisper, "Get ready, we are going to fly." He was surprised, but not scared at all. Instead, he felt warm and calm. He got into bed, put the blanket up to his chin, and closed his eyes. And that's when it all began. The pajamas lifted him up, above the ceiling, above the house, above the clouds. They flew along star paths, slid down glowing moon rivers, and peeked into worlds where thoughts, dreams, and silly ideas live. They passed by waves floating in the sky, waved at comet tails, and even sat for a bit on a soft meteor pillow that sounded like a witch chimes. The pajamas stayed with him the whole time. They blocked the chilly space breeze, hugged him with their sleeves, and showed him the way. "It's okay," they whispered. "Just sleep. I will show you everything." In the morning, the boy woke up feeling light and clear, like nothing happened, but inside he still had a warm, starry smile, and he knew tonight that he'd fly again. Good night. Your pajamas are already waiting. The Fairy Tale: The Little Pebble and the Round Bunch. A small gray pebble lived by the shore. He wasn't like the others, not shiny, not smooth, and he didn't jump in the waves like the sea glass. Every day, he stayed a little to the side while the others played rolling games and hide and seek. They don't care about me, the pebble thought. I'm not interesting. But one day, a storm came. The waves got loud, the sand was swirling, and the sea glass got scared. They ran to the shore and saw the pebble just lying there, still, steady. He became an anchor for everyone. "You saved us," said the sea glass. "Me? But I don't even know how to do anything. You know how to stay when things get scary. That's the most important thing." Since then, they always invited him to play, and the pebble realized you don't have to be bright to be needed, you just have to be yourself and not be afraid to show it. The Fairy Tale: The Warm Teapot and Sleepy Cup. In a cozy kitchen that smelled like a vanilla and cinnamon lived an old teapot named Wormy and his friend, a porcelain cup named Sonia. They sat together at a wooden shelf and loved the evening time. Every night, then the house get quiet. Wormy started to gentle hiss and hum tunes and sounded like a grandma's lullabies. Sonia listened, tilting her little ear-shaped handle, and softly hummed along. Their favorite moment was when Mom put water on the stove and made some warm herbal tea. Steam filled the air, making the kitchen feel even cozier, like it was getting ready for sleep too. "Tonight it's a chamomile and mint," Wormy said. "That means it will be a calm night." Sonia was filled to the top, and a spoon of honey was added. She felt useful and loved, and that made falling asleep even nicer. When everyone in the house was asleep, Woomy and Sonia quietly chatted, remembering old tea time stories. Even if it rained or the wind howled outside, the kitchen always stayed warm, salty, and super peaceful. The fairy tale Buffy the Cloud and the Sleepy Forest. High up in the sky lived a little fluffy cloud named Poof. It was soaked like a marshmallow and loved looking down at the world. Poof's favorite thing was flying over the sleepy forest. Everything there was quiet, calm, and a little bit magical. Every evening, when the sun hid behind the hills, Pooh floated down slowly to whisper bedtime stories to the trees. As it whispered, the leaves rustled softly, yowling with joy. The squirrels curled up to sleep, the owls got ready for their night watch, and the little hedgehog gently pulled a leaf over herself like a blanket. One night, Pooh noticed a tiny bunny who couldn't fall asleep. He was tossing and turning under a bush, jumping at every little sound. So Pooh floated closer, wrapped him gently with its soft edge, and whispered, "Don't be scared. I'm here. I will cover you with a sleep like a warm blanket." The bunny sighed, yawned, and his ears went still. Everything in the forest felt peaceful and sleepy. Even the stars seemed to shine like a soldier so they wouldn't wake anyone. And Pooh floated back up into the sky, quiet and gentle like a mom singing a lullaby. The fairy tale A Whale Named Dippy. Far away in the deep blue ocean lived a whale named Dippy. He was the biggest, but also the kindest. His voice was low and calm, just like the sea, and all the ocean animals loved when he sang. Every evening, Dippy gathered the little fish, octopuses, and seahorses around him. He started to hum and sing lullaby, and the water became a little warmer, a little calmer. Jellyfish danced like a glowing umbrellas, and the crabs stopped moving listening to the music. But one night, Dippy couldn't find his favorite star, a sea star named Lumi. He swam up a bit and lighted up the sea floor with his soft glow, and finally saw her hiding behind some seaweed. She was so scared to sleep alone. Dippy reached out his fin and said, "I'm always here even when you can't see me." Lumi snuggled up next to him and the song went on. Up on the surface, stars appeared like a reflection of all the ocean dreams. The fairy tale The Little Watchman on the Moon. High above the earth, on the moon itself, lived a tiny watchman named Tick. He was as small as a teaspoon, wore a round hat with a little antenna, and made sure everyone who dreamed under the star could sleep peacefully. Every night, Tick walked around the moon clocks. He checked if the stars were shining just right, if the comets flew quietly, and if the moon dust stayed in the place. He knew that if something went wrong, kids on Earth might have restless dreams. One night a traveling dust speck flew to him. It came from the comet's tail and glowed with golden light. The speck got stuck in Tick's antenna and didn't know how to get back home. "Don't worry," Kik said. "You are safe here. Rest now, and in the morning I will help you to find the way." He placed the speck in the little moon hole, covered it with a blanket made of starlight, and sat nearby. He whispered a few words in the language of wind, and the speck fell asleep. Down on earth, a child was falling asleep too. They suddenly felt a warm light and knew everything would be okay. And Tick, the little watchman, kept checking the moon clocks to make sure dreams stayed sweet. The Fairy Tale, The Little Star Mouse. One quiet, clear night, a star left the sky. It didn't fall, it just decided to go on a little trip. As it flew through the clouds, it started to change. It got smaller, warmer, softer, and then, right on the grass, sat a tiny glowing mouse. He glowed like a night light, and his name was Starry. He had soft little paws and a sparkly tail and the kindest eyes in the whole universe. Starry didn't stay in the field. He started to travel at night, not through cities or forests, but across pillows, irregular pillows of kids who couldn't fall asleep or felt a little scared. When Starry jumped onto a pillow, he gently touched the child's cheek with his firm, fusive tail. Then he sat close and whispered, "You are doing great. Everything is okay and you are safe. Sleep now." And right away, the child's heart felt calm and their thoughts felt light like clouds. Even kids who were scared of the dark suddenly felt like someone kind was watching over their sleep. Starry never stayed too long. As soon as sleepy cheeks started to smile, he moved on to the next pillow, the next heart. Every night, he lighted tiny invisible lights, not in the sky but in souls, and that made the whole world a little brighter. Sleep tight, little one. Maybe Starry will visit you tonight. The Fairy Tale, The Little House Under the Dandelion. Under a tall dandelion with its fluffy white poof swaying in the wind lived a little frog named Loop. His home was hidden among green leaves, and the roof was a big clover leaf. But the best part, it always smelled like mint, freshness, and a little bit of magic. Loop wasn't just a frog, he was the keeper of quiet. He didn't jump loudly, didn't clap his paws, and even spoke in a soft whisper. All the animals knew if you want to relax, take a break from worries, and just be still, you went to Loop. Every evening the animals came to his little home. The squirrel brought a pine-cone to cuddle, the hedgehog brought crunchy leaves that sounded like stories, and the little owl brought his soft "whoo" instead of music. They all settled in, some on moss, some on soft cloth, some leaning on the wall and just listened. Loop sat quietly in the corner making a dandelion petal tea. Rain tapped gently on the roof and it was perfect sound for falling asleep. No one rushed sleep, no one asked, "Are you sleeping yet?" Because Loop knew the secret. Sleep comes to places that are quiet, warm, and where you can just be yourself. And if one day you hear raindrops and smell mint, maybe you're close to the Loop's little home. The fairy tale, The Elephant in Pajamas. In the quietest village where the wind gently touches the grass and stars show upright at night, lived a big kind elephant. His name was Boomsy. Every evening when the sun started to hide behind the hills, Boomsy put on his favorite pajamas, soft, striped, with a little pocket for candy. Boomsy was a special elephant. He loved reading bedtime stories, but not to anyone else, just to himself. He'd sit on a big pillow, grab a thick book, fix his glasses, and start reading out loud, slowly with feeling. Once upon a time, there was a little bunny. He'd begin, who wanted to become Cloud. While reading, Boomsy sometimes yawned. Then again, and by page 3 his eyes would close, his ears would drop, and the book would slowly slide from his paw. But the funny thing was, every morning, Boomsy woke up with the book open to page 4. He always knew where he left off. And the best part, he'd wake up with the warmest smile, like he'd seen the rest of the story in his dream. No one knew how it worked. Maybe the stories read themselves to him at night, or maybe his pajamas were a little bit magic. But one thing's for sure, Boomsy's dreams were always sweet. Even the stars looking at him through the window seemed to smile a little brighter. Good night. Don't forget your pajamas. The fairy tale, the sleepers that could lull you to sleep. Once, in an old but very cozy room, lived a pair of sleepers. They looked simple, soft, round at the toes and a little worn from time. But they had a secret. The sleepers could help you fall asleep. Every evening when the child, their little owner, came home, the sleepers stood by the bed like they were waiting. As soon as little feet slipped inside, a warm feeling spread through the body like a hug from a favorite blanket. The sleepers would start to gently rock, like tiny heads rocking someone to sleep. Sometimes they hummed quiet tunes that no one else knew. Sometimes they whispered stories right into the souls, so they'd go straight to the heart. Sometimes they just stayed quiet, but in such a kind way that even noisy thoughts got calm. The child would put them on, sit on the bed, and yawn by the third step. By the fourth, they were already under the blanket, and every time they fell asleep with a smile. But the real magic of sleepers was that they remembered all good things from the day, every happy moment, every small win, and while rocking they would remind, you were kind, you tried your best, you deserve rest, everything is okay. In the morning, the sleepers were back by the bed like nothing happened, just with a tiny smell of sleep and warm happiness. And you know, maybe you have a pair like that too. The fairy tale, The Fox Who Kept the Quiet. In a place where morning smelled like strawberries, lived a little fox named Shusha. She wasn't just any fox, she was the keeper of quiet. She had a fluffy tail, soft paws, and a voice that sounded like wind in the leaves. Every evening, when the trees stopped moving and the animals went into their burrows, Shusha came out of the forest and tiptoed to the houses. She didn't scare anyone. She came when someone couldn't fall asleep. She lied down on the roof, covered the house with calm, and do the most important thing: collect all the noisy thoughts into an invisible basket. Sleep. Everything loud has already gone to rest, she'd whispered. And just like that, the little one stopped tossing in the bed. The mom stopped worrying about tomorrow, and even the clock started ticking softer, because Shusha was keeping the quiet all the way till the morning. The fairy tale, the umbrella that kept fears away. A boy had an old umbrella. It stood by the door, simple and warm, with a hook handle and a button you had to click to open it. During the day, it was just an umbrella, but at night, it became a guard. Every evening, when the lights went off, the umbrella slowly started to move. It opened by itself, no click, and gently floated up, softly, like it didn't want to wake anyone. It flew over the boy's bed and stayed above him like an invisible dome. The light from the street lamp slid gently over its dark fabric. Sometimes little fairies peeked out from the corners of the room. They were all different. One rustled, one had a long shadow, and one just felt cold. They crept closer, whispered, stretched, but the umbrella didn't let them in. It turned toward them and said, very quietly and very calmly, "No, you can't come here. This is a quiet place. This is a resting place. My child is here." And the fears faded away like raindrops breaking on the fabric. The boy never knew, he just slept. Sometimes he turned over, sometimes he smiled, sometimes he hugged his pillow and kept on dreaming. And the umbrella watched over him until morning. When the sun peeked through the window, it gently folded itself and returned to the door, like nothing ever happened. But it knew the job was done and fear had lost again. And the umbrella watched over him until morning. When the sun peeked through the window, it gently folded itself and returned to the door, like nothing ever happened. But it knew the job was done and fear had lost again. The Fairy Tale, Little Lamb Lee and the Shadow on the Wolf. There was a little light bulb named Lee living on the ceiling. She wasn't too bright, but not too dim either. Her light was special, warm and golden, like the light in Grandma's kitchen. During the day, she just hung there, watching games, books, dances in front of the mirror, and tea parties with teddy bears. But in the evening, when the big light turned off, Lightbulb truly woke up. She didn't turn on with a loud click, like other lights. She light up slowly, like a soft breeze before sleep. One night, the boy got into bed, closed his eyes, and saw a strange shadow on the wall. It was big, dark, and looked like it was moving. "Mom," he called out. Mom came in, patted his head, and left. but the shadow stayed. "Lee!" the boy whispered. "I'm scared." "What is that?" Light powerfully glowed a little brighter. Her light spread gently across the walls, like hands softly touching the room. "Look," she said, "in just your robe hanging on the back of the chair, and next to it, your book with a bookmark. A shadow only feels scary when you don't know what making it." And it was true. As soon as Lee lighted up the corner, the scary shadow was gone. It turned into cozy, familiar things. Everything was simple again. The boy smiled and closed his eyes, and Lee kept shining, just a little, so he knew if he ever got scared again, she'd show him everything. Outside the window and on the wall, everything was safe in her light and in her care. The fairy tale, the room where monsters disappeared. A little girl had a very special room. During the day, it looked like any other. A bed, a bookshelf, stuffed animals, and her favorite blanket with stars. But at night it turned magical, because this room knew how to get rid of monsters. Yes, they came sometimes. One had long arms, another had one big eye in the middle of its head, and one was just plain darkness with no shape at all. They crawled in the corners, whispered under the bed, and tried to be scared. But the room was smart. If something hid under the bed, the floor would creak in such a funny way that the monsters giggled and disappeared. If something peeked out of the closet, the door would swing open and music would start playing. Happy, kind music. The kind you want to dance to, not scare anyone with. If something trying to whisper in the dark, the little lamp in the corner would suddenly light up and say, "Hey, we can see you. So many eyes, but did you even wash your face?" And the monster would vanish, all of them, without a trace, because in this room there was no space for fear, only for soft dreams, light thoughts, and plushy hugs. The girl didn't know about all these tricks. She just fell asleep under her blanket, high in her favorite raccoon, feeling safe and calm. The room protected her, at night and always. The fairy tale, the cat who put worries to sleep. In a warm little house lived an old cat. His name was Russell. He was fluffy, striped, and a little serious. During the day, he loved to nap on the windowsill, soak up the sun, and watch the crow that always walked along the fence. But at night, he had an important job. When everything in the house went to sleep, the kettle, the books, even the slippers, Russell jumped down from the windowsill and went to check on his person, a small one with soaked cheeks and warm little breaths. Sometimes everything was fine, but sometimes little worries showed up in the child's head. He turned under the blanket, sighed, held his hands to his chest like his heart was beating too loud. Russell sighed too, jumped onto the bed and lie down close. He always knew the right spot. By the feet, if tomorrow felt scary. By the tummy, if there were too many thoughts. But most often, right on the pillow, close to the ear. And he started to purr. His purr wasn't just a... It was like a wave, like the forest breathing, like the sound of safety. Woof, brr, he said. It's okay. Everything moving the way it should. You're not alone. I'm here, sleep. And the worries calmed down. They got smaller, smaller, and disappeared, like someone was gently beating them from the inside, saying, time to sleep now, all of you. The child drifted off, his face relaxed, his breathing became steady, and Russell kept purring, right to the end until he was sure everything was calm. Only then did he go back to the windowsill, and maybe no one saw it, but the night was safe. The fairy tale, the hugging blanket. This wasn't just a blanket. It knew how to hug. It looked totally normal, soft, checked with one corner a little worn out. It wasn't bought in a magic shop, and no fairy had ever touched it, but it had something special inside, a gentle kind of love. Every night when the child got into bed, the blanket scooted closer. It covered the shoulders, the back, the legs, slowly, like it was asking, is that comfy? Not too tight. Should I go lower or a bit higher? If the child felt worried, the blanket hugged the chest a little tighter. If they felt lonely, it wrapped around snugly, like it was whispering, I'm here. You are not alone. I will cover everything, even what's inside. When window peek through the window or night sounds rustle outside, the blanket shifted a little and got thicker, warmer. It caught the fare, tucked it into a soft fold, and rocked it gently until it was gone. Sometimes it even had a special smell, like a grandma's baking or mom's sweater or just something really warm like home. The child breathed deeper, their cheeks got warm and their heart whispered, I'm safe. And under that blanket, dreams came faster, quietly on tiptoes. But they always knew this is where they are welcome, because in this house, in this bed, there's a hug that never lets go. The fairy tale, the little dog who caught tears. A little girl had a soft toy, a dog named Tuka. Her fur was a bit worn, one ear was sewn on a little crooked, and her nose was shiny from being rubbed so much. But Tuka had a special heart, invisible, quiet, but very caring. When the girl laughed, Tuka stayed close, happy and warm in her joy. But her real job started in the evening, especially after a hard day. If the girl felt sad, Tuka felt it right away. She gently moved closer, snuggled up by her cheek, and waited. And if a tear started to roll, Tuka didn't let it fall on the pillow. She caught it with her ear on her forehead. Sometimes she just touched it with her paw and whispered without words, I'm here. It's okay to cry. I can hold it all. She didn't ask questions. She didn't say don't cry, because she knew sometimes tears just needs to come out so the heart can feel lighter. And when it was all out, Tuka didn't go anywhere. She stayed until the girl was fully asleep. Only when her breathing got slow and steady, Tuka gave a tiny smile, because she knew she mattered. She didn't save the whole world, but she saved one heart tonight. The Fairy Tale, a letter from the moonlight who believes in you. High up in the sky lived Lunash. He wasn't exactly moon and not really a star. Something in between, warm, round, and very kind. Every night, Lunash watched the earth and remembered who fell asleep smiling and who hid with their pillow under their cheek to cover up tears. He couldn't come down himself, but he knew how to send letters, invisible ones, only for those who really needed them. One night after a hot day, a child lay in bed, cheeks a little red, eyes shiny. Everything seemed okay, but inside there was a little lump, and that's when a letter came down from the sky. It was warm like a tea and smelled like stardust. The letter said, "Hi, it's me, Lunash. I saw how hard you tried today. I know not everything went right, and that's okay. You're not bad. You're not lazy. You're just human. And humans get tired. Sometimes they get mad. Sometimes they cry. But I see it. There's light inside you, and I believe in you a lot. Sleep. Tomorrow is a new day, and tonight you did enough." The child didn't see the letter, but they felt it, like someone wrapped them in soft words, and everything felt a little lighter. Luna's watched from above and knew one heart just got a little stronger. The Fairy Tale, the chair that knew how to hug without words. In one house, in the corner of the living room, there was a chair, big with wide armrests, a slightly squished seat, and a warm blanket that always slipped over the side. Everyone loved to sit in it, Grandma with her tea, Dad with his book, but most of all the child, because this chair knew how to hug. It didn't talk, it didn't move, it just waited, and when the child felt heavy, when their tummy tightened, a lump sat in their throat and the mood just disappeared, the chair called, not with words but with a feeling. "Come here, just sit, I get it." The child climbed in with their legs tucked up. The blanket seemed to wrap around them on its own. The armrest felt soft like arms around them, and the chair said nothing. But in that silence, there was so much warmth that something inside began to let go. No one asked, "Why are you crying?" No one said, "Calm down." The chair just accepted it all. No rules, no pressure, and in that quiet acceptance, something magical happened. The heavy feeling got lighter, the thoughts got softer, and breathing got deeper. Sometimes the child even fell asleep there, hugging a pillow and leaning against the back like it was a big soft chest with a quiet, invisible heartbeat. The chair didn't fix things, but it did something even more important. It stayed, always. The Fairy Tale, the little block that said, "You can do it." In a toy box lived a little block. It looked simple, blue on one side with the letter C, a slightly worn corner, and a few tiny bite marks from the baby brother. But inside it had a heart, very patient and very kind. It wasn't that loudest toy. The cards made noise, the dolls talked, and the books sparkled. The block just stayed still and waited. It knew it didn't get picked open, but always in the most important moments. When the child couldn't get something right, build a tower, cut a straight line, read a hard word, frustration would show up. And that's when the child reached for the block. Not because it fixed anything, but because it never judged. The block fit perfectly in the hand. Its sides felt familiar and steady. It didn't say anything loud. It didn't give advice. It just say but simply being there. You've got this. Maybe not right away, and that's okay. I'm here. Let's try again. And suddenly the child breathed deeper. The hand stopped shaking. Things in the head got quieter. Sometimes the tower still fell, but it didn't feel like a big deal anymore because someone was there, someone who believed even when you didn't. The block wasn't magic, it was real, and real support is the biggest kind of magic. The fairy tale how the forest fell asleep. One warm evening, when the sun was saying goodbye by kissing the top of the trees, the forest started to fall asleep. It didn't happen at once. The forest didn't turn off like a light. It fell asleep slowly, gently, almost without a sound. First, the big oak yawned, loud and creaky. Its leaves gave a little shake and then settled down, like they were tucking themselves in. When the river got quiet, it stopped chatting with the rocks and started to whisper like it was telling a bedtime story to itself. Next, the baby owl closed one eye and then another, and only one little ear still listened to the silence. The squirrel curled up in the grass, the hedgehog settled onto a leaf, the fox stretched, yawned, and covered her nose with her tail. Only one little bunny couldn't fall asleep. He walked into circles, listening, just in case something scary was near. Then an old flighty tern gently moved and said, "Everything's asleep, even the wind, even the shadows, everything except you. Do you want me to cover you with my shadow? It's soft and safe." The bunny sighed, curled up in a ball, and the forest finally fell fully asleep. No one knew that height above, a star was watching over it, keeping the sleep safe until morning. The fairy tale, the flower that waited for the moon. At the edge of a field, right by the path, grew a flower. It wasn't like the others. It didn't reach for the sun during the day. It didn't open with the morning light. It slept when everything else woke up and waited for evening. Because only at night did it open its petals, only at night its color turned deep like the sky and its scent became soft like a whisper. It waited for the moon. Every evening it opened one petal and asked the wind, "Is it soon?" The wind listened to the sky, then sighed, "Soon, little one, she just coming over the hill." The flower stayed still, then opened a bit more, one leaf, then another, and then she appeared. White, quiet, gentle. The moon rose over the field, and her light touched the petals soft like a hand. The flower trembled with joy. "Hi," it whispered. I have been waiting for you like always. And the moon didn't say anything. She just shined, calm and steady, like she was saying, I see you, you are not alone. Everything's going the way it should. And then the flower fully opened. It glowed, it shined, just for a few hours. But they were the most magical hours in the world. And then the sky got lighter. It closed again and waited for the next night, because it knew the moon always comes back to the one who waited for her. The fairy tale, the river that whispered dreams. Somewhere far away between fields and the pine forest, there was a river. Not the fastest, not the deepest, just a kind one, a little dreamy. During the day it splashed in the sunlight, played with fish, chatted with bridges and trees branches hanging above. But in the evening the river changed. It slowed down. Its water moved gently like it was rolling side to side, sleepy and calm. And then it started to whisper. Not talk, not babble, but whisper like a grandma when she tucked you in and say, Sleep, little one, I'm here. The river told dreams about clouds that ride on waves, about a frog who once turned into a star, about a boat that forgot where it was going and found its home. All the animals nearby knew. If you can't sleep, go to the river, lie down on the grass, close your eyes and just listen. And really, the dreams would come, slow, sweet with the smell of grass and water, because the river knew what words to say. No hurry up, no you should, just you're okay and take your time. In the morning the river woke up again, full of energy, but the best dreams she kept under the little stones to give them back in the evening, to anyone who knows how to listen. The fairy tale, the pine tree that knew the secret of time. At the edge of the forest stood an old pine tree. It was tall, straight, with thick bark and branches reaching up like they wanted to hug the sky. It had been there for many years. It had seen the seasons change. Later animals grow up and birds fly by. And no one knew that the pine tree was keeping a very important secret, the secret of time. When everything around was rushing, ants running, birds flapping, wind pushing the leaves, the pine tree just stood still, quiet, calm. It knew everything happens when it's supposed to. Every evening when the sun started to slide behind the hills, the pine sighed through its branches and gave a little bow to the sky. It didn't worry that the day was ending. It knew night comes because that's the reef of the world. Kids often sat under its branches, some feeling sad, some just thinking, and if you listen closely, the pine spoke to them through the wind. Don't rush, you have time. Your spring will come, and if something leaves, it just makes space for something new. At night, its needles made soft sound, like a clock but without hands. Just a gentle reminder. Time knows where it's taking you. And if you stand close, you can feel it. Everything is going the right way. The Fairy Tale, a sleepy morning in the meadow. The meadow didn't wake up all at once, not like an alarm, loud and sharp, but slowly, one petal at a time, one blade of grass at a time, like someone was gently pulling back the foggy curtains and whispering, "It's morning, but don't rush, just a little more, and the world will breathe again." First a daisy yawned. Its petals moved a little, like it just remembered how to smile at the sun. Then a dragonfly nudged their friend under her wings. "It's time. Look how the light touched the grass." Somewhere a little beetle snorted, scratched his antenna, and rolled over the other side. The bees weren't buzzing yet. Even the wind wasn't hurrying, like was stretching the morning to make it last longer. Right in the middle of the meadow lay a small bunny, still asleep, paws under his cheeks, nose resting on a clover pillow. The meadow whispered to him, "Don't be afraid of morning, it's kind. It won't make you run, it just comes to be close." When a sunbeam touched the bunny's ear, he stretched and yawned and smiled in his sleep, because in this meadow no one woke up on command, only when the heart was ready, and that made it the softest, sleepiest, most real kind of morning. The Fairy Tale, a storm that knew how not to scare. One evening, a storm showed up on the horizon. At first it was far, far away, like a big dark pillow someone was carrying across the sky. All the animals in the forest got quiet, even the birds stopped chirping. But the storm was different. It didn't come to scare anyone. It just came to cry a little. Yeah, that's right, it had too much water inside. Tears, not from sadness, but from having too many feelings at once. It knocked gently with a soft rumble of thunder. "Sorry, can I stay for a bit? I won't be long." The rain started, not sharp, not angry, just soft drops tapping the leaves like tiny hands. The kind of rain that makes you want to curl up in bed and listen. Just listen. And when lightning flashed, it wasn't loud or scary. It was more like a sigh, as if the storm said, "Phew, that's better." And really, it did feel better. The storm paused for a moment, took one more breath, and moved on to another place that also needed a little cleanup. The forest was quiet again, fresh, calm, and the animals understand. Some storms don't come to scare you, they come to bring peace. The Fairy Tale, the firefly that lit the way for dreams. When the sun went down behind the hills and the sky turned blue like an old scarf, a little firefly woke up in the grass. His name was Tin. He wasn't the brightest, not the fastest, but he had a special job. Every night, Tin flew over the meadow and started looking for dreams. Yes, not to see them, but to find them. He knew that for dreams to reach someone who was tired, they had to find the way, and in the dark, that's not always easy. The dreams were all different. One looked like a paper boat, another felt like a fluffy pillow made of clouds, and one came like a little bird carrying a song. Tin flew up to every window where someone was sleeping or trying and gently glowed, just a little dot of light, like a marker on a map. Right here, someone's waiting. This heart is ready, and the dreams arrived. Soft, quiet, not knocking. They landed on the pillow, slipped under the blanket, and turned into something magical. Then Tin flew on to the next window, where someone was still tossing and waiting. His light wasn't bright, but it was just right, because if someone can find their way to sleep, there's always someone who helps them to get there. The fairy tale, The Sunset That Left a Promise. When the sun started to lower toward the horizon, everything around got quiet. The birds sat on the tops of the trees, the grass stood still, even the wind slowed down. Everyone was waiting because he was about to arrive, the sunset. He didn't shout, he didn't rush, he came gently. He spread across the sky from one side to another with warm colors, orange, pink, and sometimes a little purple. Sunset never spoke loudly. He was just there, and with his light, he whispered, "I'm leaving, but it's not goodbye. I'm just making space for the night. I'll be back, I promise." Kids watched the sky from windows or porches, holding their favorite toy, and even if the day felt a little heavy inside, the sunset seemed to carry the worries away. "Let me take your tired feelings," he said. "I will hide whatever was hot in the clouds, and in the morning there will be a new light, a new start." Then the sky got darker, the stars showed up, the moon, the dreams, but in the heart a soft feeling stayed. A promise that morning will come, because sunset isn't the end. It just says, "Rest, I'll hold everything for you while you sleep." The fairy tale, The Cloud That Sent Rain. High up in the sky lived a cloud. It wasn't a storm cloud or a sunny one, just a cloud, fluffy silver and a little thoughtful. It didn't know how to rumble or throw lightning, but it knew how to sing. Every time things got too quiet, when trees dropped from the heat, when fields felt bored without cool air, when kids couldn't fall asleep because the night was too stuffy, the cloud decided to sing. First, it gathered water slowly, drop by drop, then it floated over the earth looking for the right place. And when the moment felt right, it started its rain concert. It wasn't regular rain. It didn't tap its song. It sang on rooftops like a lullaby. It sang through leaves like a moon walking softly around the room. It sang in puddles like gently ripples spreading from a drop. Kids, with their faces buried in pillows, listened and felt something softer inside. Like someone up above was saying, "I'm here, everything okay? Listen to my rain, I will carry your worries away." And when the song was done, the cloud felt lighter. It smiled with its edges and floated on, free, bright, full of space. And below the world slept, because rain isn't just drops. Sometimes it's a song that hugs your soul. The fairy tale, The Night That Covered the Planet Like a Blanket. Every evening when the sun said goodbye to the horizon, night came out from behind the faraway stars. She wasn't scary or cold, she was gentle. In one hand she carried a dark blue blanket with little star patterns. In the other, a flashlight shaped like the full moon. Night walked slowly, covering one place after another. First the deserts, where the sand was tired, then the fields, worn out from the sun, then the forest, where even the trees seemed to breathe slower. She knew every living thing needs rest. When she reached the city, she smoothed the rooftops, dimmed with street light, and wrapped the houses in shadows. To the children she whispered, "I am here, sleep. I will sit with you. I will hold this day while you rest." Sometimes, if someone couldn't fall asleep, Night would place her cool hand on their cheek and turn the stars up just a little. "Don't worry, everything's under control. Just rest." And if a child woke up in the middle of the night, Night was still there, sitting close, quiet, steady. And when the morning came, she folded up her blanket, tucked the moon into her pocket, and left until the next evening to come back again and wrap the world in a hug. Because sometimes feeling safe is just knowing Night takes care of you too. The Fairy Tale Train to the City of Sweet Dreams. Every night, right at 9 o'clock, a little horn turns on somewhere under the pillow. Quiet, almost silent. That means the train to the land of sweet dreams is leaving. Its train cars are made of warm flannel. The pillows fell like a marshmallow, and instead of cabins, there are cozy blankets that smell like warm milk with honey. The passengers are kids who have already closed their eyes and are listening to their heartbeats slow down. The train goes slowly, very slowly, because rushing doesn't help good dreams. It passes stations like Cloudy Slides, Stuffed Animal Park, and Sleepy Yarn. At each stop, someone falls even deeper asleep. In the land of sweet dreams, everything is made for resting. The streets are paved with blanks, the houses whisper lullabies, and the streetlights shine with the glow of children's smile. When the train gets there, no one hurries to get off, because the city welcomes you not with words but with silence. Kind, soft, safe silence. And in the morning the train comes back. It brings warm dreams, soft feelings, and the thought, "I went somewhere where everything felt good." So if you hear a quiet "ooh," don't be surprised. Just close your eyes and hop on the train. The Fairy Tale, a journey through the fluffy clouds. When you close your eyes and pull your blanket up, a little path appears in the sky. Not just any path, one made of clouds. These clouds aren't rainy or gray. They are white and fluffy like a cotton, with a sweet smell almost like vanilla cream. And right along this path, a traveler sets off. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's someone else who also getting ready to sleep. The cloud road starts with your first yawn. Each step is a soft poof. One takes you to this island of lightness, the next to the yawning hill, then the field of calm. Along the way you meet funny creatures, Flufasaurus who breathe sleepy mist, cloudbirds who carry dreams in their tiny breaks, and giant cats floating like airships purring in the sky. If you get scared of the height, the clouds hold you up. They know a journey isn't about speed, it's about trust, and when you reach the very last pool, it turns into a pillow. You lie down right there in the sky and fall asleep, and see a dream that made itself just for you. The fairy tale, the sleepy airship. Every night when the city gets quiet, a big airship comes out from behind the clouds. It's huge, like a whale, and soft, like a blanket. Its name is Murr, because instead of making loud sounds, it just purrs when it flies. Murr. You can hear in the sky. That means time to get on board. There are no tickets on this airship. Only the ones who really want to rest can go. Those who are tired of thinking, who felt a little lonely, or just want to fly somewhere gentle. The passengers lie down in cozy little pods like tiny caves. They get eye masks made of cloud and headphones that play lullabies from all over the world. Murr flies past moon rocks, star rivers, through tunnels of snowflakes, and over oceans where whales nap. Inside, it's all calm and quiet. It doesn't rush. It knows sleep is a journey, not a race. Sometimes the captain purrs into the mic. You're doing great. We're almost at the soft planet. Close your eyes. Your dreams are waiting, the ones made just for you. And really, just before the last turn, everyone falls asleep, one by one. And Murr smiles, breathes slowly, and gently carries them farther, toward the kindest morning. The fairy tale, the map under the pillow. Sometimes, after a really long day, a child would lie down and whisper, "I hope I dream about something nice," and the pillow would hear it. It would move just a little, and from its seam, a map would slip out. Not a regular map, a magic one, drawn not with ink, but with dreamlight. On it were cookie islands, caves full of giggles, rainbow bridges, and even a forest where hug trees grew. The map knew every child sees their own dream, so it opened up right there in the dark room and started to glow. The child closed their eyes and step by step followed the glowing line. No worries, no fear, just soft, quiet hope for something good. Sometimes along the way there were animals sharing warm hugs. Sometimes cloud horses helped jump over little doubts. But always, at the end of the path, there was a place that felt safe, and that's where the child would fall asleep. In the morning, the map would hide back inside the pillow, until the next night, the next yawn, the next, "Can I go there again?" Because the most special trips are under the pillow. The fairy tale, the stairway to the moon garden. Sometimes, if you lie really still and look out the window for a long time, you might see a ladder coming down from the sky. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't shine. It just shows up, like a soft light made from moon fluff and silk. This ladder leads to the moon garden. The moon garden isn't just a place, it's a special dreamland. There are no regular trees there. The leaves are fireflies, the flowers are tiny glowing bells, and the grass is softer than any carpet. Every child who steps on the ladder feels light, even the ones who had a hard day or felt tired. It all melts away, because in the moon garden, no one is rushing, no one is judging. You can sit on swings that match your mood. You can pet nighttime butterflies, they keep the calm, or lay down in a starboat that gently rocks you while you breathe. And when it's time to come back, the ladder appears again. The child goes down quietly, almost still asleep, but in their heart they feel, "I was in a place where everything understands me," and that's why they can sleep deeply now, calm and cozy, all the way till morning. The fairy tale, the little pebble and the round bunch. A small gray pebble lived by the shore. He wasn't like the others, not shiny, not smooth, and he didn't jump in the waves like the sea glass. Every day, he stayed a little to the side while the others played rolling games and hide and seek. They don't care about me, the pebble thought. I'm not interesting. But one day, a storm came. The waves got loud, the sand was swirling, and the sea glass got scared. They ran to the shore and saw the pebble just lying there, still, steady. He became an anchor for everyone. "You saved us," said the sea glass. "Me? But I don't even know how to do anything. You know how to stay when things get scary. That's the most important thing." Since then, they always invited him to play, and the pebble realized you don't have to be bright to be needed, you just have to be yourself and not be afraid to show it. The fairy tale, Who's Sitting on the Swing? There were 2 swings in the yard. One was old, squeaky, but steady. The other one was new, shiny, and cool. Every morning, kids ran to the swings. Some rushed to the new one shouting, "I'm first!" Others waited in line, and one girl just sat in the sand, watching. She wanted to swing but felt too shy to go over. One day, the old swing whispered, "Come to me. I know how to listen." The girl walked over and sat down. The squeak was soft, like Grandma's voice. The swing moved slowly, no rush, no noise. "Why are you sitting alone?" it asked. "Because I'm scared someone will tell me to leave." "And what if you stay, even if you're scared? What then?" From that day on, the girl came back every morning. She started asking others to sit with her, sometimes just quietly, sometimes with, "Do you like quiet swings too?" And little by little, a small group formed around the old swing. Not loud, not fast, but real. Because sometimes friendship is just someone saying, "You can sit next to me." The fairy tale, A Wing on Schedule. In a meadow lived a little ladybug named Lily. She looked like all the others, red back, black spots, tiny wings. But one of her wings opened slowly, not right away, and not every time she wanted to fly. Because of that, the other ladybugs sometimes didn't invite her to play. "We're going now. You'll get stuck again," they shouted, already flying up. Lily pretended she didn't care, but deep inside, it felt tickly sad. "Maybe something's wrong with me," she thought. One day, a dragonfly landed in the meadow. She saw Lily sitting in the grass and asked, "Hey, why are you here all alone?" "My wing works by schedule," Lily mumbled. The dragonfly thought for a second and said, "Then I'll wait. It's no big deal. It's more fun with you anyway." They flew together, slowly but happily. And then Lily heard a voice from above. "Hey, wait for us." It was one of the bugs who used to fly ahead. From that day on, Lily knew real friends don't race to be first. They just fly together at their own pace. The fairy tale, A Pie for Everyone. In a small forest lived a little bear named Bruno. He really loved baking pies, warm, sweet, with blueberries and honey. But Bruno was shy about sharing. What if someone doesn't like it, he thought. What if they say I did it wrong? So he ate his pies alone, quietly, in his den. One day, a hedgehog, a fox, and a squirrel walked by. They smelled something yummy and stopped. What smells so good? Who made something so nice? Bruno got scared. He hid the pie behind his back, but the hedgehog gently said, "We'd be happy just to sit near you, even without pie." Bruno took a deep breath. He brought the pie out, put it in the middle, and mumbled, "Well, you can try it if you want." Everyone had a bite. No one said yuck. No one complained. They smiled, chewed, and asked for more. And for the first time, Bruno felt sharing isn't scary. It's a way to feel close. The next day, he baked another pie, but this time, not just for himself, for his friends. The fairy tale, someone always says yes. Little owl Lumi had a strange fear. She was scared no one would want to play with her twice. Every morning she flew to the forest clearing and whispered to herself, "Today I'll try again, but if they say no, I'll fly away forever." She asked, "Squirrel, want to play hide and seek? Fox, maybe we can draw in the sand." And every time someone said, "Can't right now, maybe later, another time." And Lumi thought that meant no. One day she sat on a stump and cried, quietly, almost without a sound. A little bear walked over. He didn't know what to say, so he just sat next to her. "I don't know how to play hide and seek," he said, "but I do know how to sit like this and stay." Lumi looked at him and smiled, because she got it, period. Friendship isn't always let's play. Sometimes it's just, I'm here, even if we don't say a word. And from that day on, funny thing, she started hearing yes more and more. The fairy tale, the little lantern inside. Everyone has a little light inside. You can't see it, but it's there. It turns on when you smile, when you do something kind, or even when you're just lying down and dreaming. Sometimes it feels like others shine more. They run faster, talk louder, draw better, and your little light starts to wonder, maybe I'm not that important. But one night in the dark room, a voice came, software kind, from inside. You don't need to be like everyone else. Your light is special. And it's true. Some people light the way with laughter, some with care, and some just by being there. After that, every night before sleep, the child would feel a warm glow inside. Not because they changed, but because they believed they already are light. And the little light inside shone a bit brighter. The fairy tale, a strong I'll try. Little snail Lynn wasn't fast. When everyone else was already climbing the hill, he was just getting to the start. When others jumped over the stream, Lynn was still stretching out his little feelers, thinking, what if I can't do it? One day, Lynn heard someone say, snails can't go there. They're too slow. And it hurt a little inside, not because it was mean, but because it felt true. What if I really don't belong? He almost believed it, but then he took a deep breath, slow like a snail, and said, I'll try. He didn't become fast. He didn't learn to jump, but he kept going, every day a bit further. And while others tripped from rushing, Lynn crawled, steady. When he reached the top of his first hill, no one clapped, no trumpets played. But inside he heard, "I did it because I didn't give up." And from that day on, every step started with one warm little word, "I'll try." The fairy tale, the bunny, and the first no. Little Bunny Ty was very polite. He always said yes. Yes, I'll play, even if I'm tired. Yes, I'll give you my toy, even if I just started playing. Yes, yes, of course. But at night, when he lay in bed, he felt sad. He whispered into his pillow, "Why do I feel so tired around everyone? Why do I feel like I disappear?" One day, his mom gave him a little stone. On it was a word, self. "This is your stone," she said. "It's to remind you, you matter. Sometimes taking care of yourself means saying no." The next day, T took a deep breath. When the little bear asked for his favorite toy, T closed his eyes and said, "No, I want to play with it a little more." He was scared they wouldn't want to play with him anymore, but the bear just nodded. "Okay, I'll wait. You're really brave today." And that night, T fell asleep feeling strong, not because he beat anyone, but because he listened to himself and chose himself. The fairy tale, a sleepy morning in the meadow. The meadow didn't wake up all at once, not like an alarm loud and sharp, but slowly, one petal at a time, one blade of grass at a time, like someone was gently pulling back the foggy curtains and whispering, "It's morning, but don't rush, just a little more, and the world will breathe again." First a daisy yawned. Its petals moved a little, like it just remembered how to smile at the sun. Then a dragonfly nudged their friend under her wings. "It's time, look how the light touched the grass." Somewhere a little beetle snorted, scratched his antenna and rolled over the other side. The bees weren't buzzing yet. Even the wind wasn't hurrying, like was stretched in the morning to make it last longer. Right in the middle of the meadow lay a small bunny, still asleep, paws under his cheeks, nose resting on a clover pillow. The meadow whispered to him, "Don't be afraid of morning, it's kind. It won't make you run, it just comes to be close." When a sunbeam touched the bunny's ear, he stretched and yawned and smiled in his sleep, because in this meadow no one woke up on command, only when the heart was ready, and that made it the softest, sleepiest, most real kind of morning. The fairy tale, The Sparrow Who Stayed Quiet. A group of sparrows lived in a tree. They chirped all day long, some louder, some faster, but one of them, the youngest, named Twig, hardly made a sound. He listened, watched, and stayed quiet. "Why are you so quiet?" the others asked. "Did you lose your voice?" they teased. But Twig didn't get angry. He was just scared. "What if I mess up?" he thought. "What if they all laugh?" He practiced alone when no one could hear. He chirped to the empty branches. The wind listened and didn't judge. One day, a titmouse flew in and said she was lost. All the sparrows talked at once, shouting different directions, but Twig just stood up and said softly, "I'll show you. I remember where the south is." The titmouse followed him. the others went silent. And from that day on, no one asked why Twig was quiet, because they understood being confident doesn't mean being loud. It means speaking when it matters and acting even when you're scared. The fairy tale, The Concert in the Belly. Little turtle Lily had an orchestra in her tummy. Every time she got nervous, it started playing. Drums would pound, flutes would shake, and violins made strange sounds. The orchestra played extra loud the day Lily was asked to read a poem at a school party. "I can't do it," she whispered. "There's a storm in my belly." "It's not a storm," said the wise owl. "It's your orchestra getting ready to play. Don't stop it. Just go out there with them." Lily stood behind the curtain, shaking. The music inside was growing louder. She stepped out, opened her mouth, and the words just came like they were waiting inside. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was warm. The crowd didn't clap too hard, but some people smiled. Someone whispered, "She's so brave." The orchestra in her belly ended on a soft note. Then Lily said to herself, "I did it. That means I can." And after that, whenever the music started again, Lily didn't get scared, because she knew being brave means moving forward even when your orchestra plays inside. The fairy tale, The Pebble Who Learned to Ask. Somewhere by the shore lived a little stone. It was round, smooth, and very, very quiet. When the rain fell on it, it stayed quiet. When a heavy crab sat on it, still quiet. When a wave pushed it too hard, it stayed quiet, even if it didn't feel good. "I'm strong," the stone thought. "Being quiet is the right thing." But one day a seagull came. She saw the stone stuck in a hole, squished between two big rocks. "Hey, are you okay there?" she asked. The stone stayed quiet. "You can just say, 'It's too much,'" said the seagull. "I can help." He thought and tried. It's too much. Right away, the big rocks moved a little. A wave gently picked him up and carried him to a better spot. The sun warmed his side. The seagull sat next to him. "See," she said, "you don't have to be alone to be strong." Since then, the stone started saying something when he needed help. He realized talking about yourself doesn't bother others. It lets them stay close. The fairy tale, The Inkblot and the Magic Eraser. One day, inside a pencil case full of pencils and markers, a little inkblot was born. She showed up out of nowhere, a drip from a pen just as the kid started to draw. "Oh no," the kid cried, "it's ruined." The inkblot got really upset. Nobody wanted her. They even tried to erase her, but she was stubborn. She stayed on the paper. All the other tools whispered, "She's messy. She ruins everything." But then the magic eraser came up and said, "You're not a mistake. You're the start of something new. Want me to show you?" He drew a curve next to her. A pencil added a sun. A marker gave it some rays. and suddenly the ink blot turned into a bird, a funny little black bird flying in the sky. "See," said the eraser, "a mistake is just a moment before something changes. What matters is don't hide. Just keep going." After that, the ink blot stopped hiding. She started showing up in drawings as a butterfly, a cloud, or a funny nose, because now she knew, even if you're not perfect, you still belong. The fairy tale, The Rainbow Inside. In a meadow lived a little caterpillar named Mina. She looked pretty normal, not fluffy, not bright, nothing like the butterflies flying above her. Mina really wanted to be beautiful. One day I'll grow up, become a butterfly, and then everyone will love me, she thought. She tried her best, carefully ate her leaves, quietly rested in her cocoon, even dreamed in straight lines, but when the time came, she didn't turn out bright. Her wings were pale, almost see-through. "Did I mess up?" she whispered. Just then, a firefly flew over. He peeked under her wing and gasped. "You're glowing from the inside." "What?" "There's light in you like stars. You can't see it in the day, but at night, you're a rainbow." Mina moved her wings and for the first time felt it. She didn't need to be like the others. She wasn't for everyone. She was for those who looked deeper. From that day on, she flew at night. And if you ever see a soft glow in the dark, that's Mina, the little caterpillar who believed in herself and started to shine. The fairy tale, The Little Star Mouse. One quiet, clear night, a star left the sky. It didn't fall, it just decided to go on a little trip. As it flew through the clouds, it started to change. It got smaller, warmer, softer, and then, right on the grass sat a tiny glowing mouse. He glowed like a night light, and his name was Starry. He had soft little paws and a sparkly tail and the kindest eyes in the whole universe. Starry didn't stay in the field. He started to travel at night, not through cities or forests, but across pillows, irregular pillows of kids who couldn't fall asleep or felt a little scared. When Starry jumped onto a pillow, he gently touched the child's cheek with his firm, fusive tail. Then he sat close and whispered, "You are doing great. Everything is okay and you are safe. Sleep now." And right away, the child's heart felt calm and their thoughts felt light like clouds. Even kids who were scared of the dark suddenly felt like someone kind was watching over their sleep. Starry never stayed too long. As soon as sleepy cheeks started to smile, he moved on to the next pillow, the next heart. Every night, he lighted tiny invisible lights, not in the sky but in souls, and that made the whole world a little brighter. Sleep tight, little one. Maybe Starry will visit you tonight. The fairy tale, The Flashlight for Feelings. There was a boy named Nico in one town, and people often called him too much, too sad, too sensitive, too quiet. He felt everything. When someone was down, when a smile was fake, when mom was sad even if she said she was fine. You take things too close to heart, adults would say. But what if that's really bad? Nico whispered to his pillow. One night, he dreamed of a little flashlight. It was small, warm, and had a button called Feelings. It lit up everything others missed: a forgotten toy, a bird on a balcony, Dad's tired smile. "You're not broken," said the flashlight. "Your light is just on. It helps you see what matters. Don't hide it." In the morning, Nico drew that flashlight, and every time he felt too much, he placed his hand on his heart and said, "This isn't weakness. This is my light." Since then, he wasn't just sensitive. He was full of light. The fairy tale, How Sadness Stopped Hiding. Inside a girl named Leah lived a little sadness. It was small, round, and quiet, like a tiny cloud, but Leah kept trying to hide it. "Don't be sad," people said. "Smile, be happy, you have everything." So sadness got smaller and hid deeper, but it also got heavier, and smiling got harder for Leah. One night, Leah took a piece of paper and drew the little cloud, with eyes, a tail, and tiny raindrops. Then she whispered, "You're real, and it's okay that you're here." Sadness moved a little, raised its little brows, and smiled, just a little, a bit shy. "Thank you for seeing me," it said. From then on, when Leah felt sad, she didn't hide it. She sat with sadness, poured some tea, and whispered, "I'm here. It's okay to feel." And each time, sadness felt a bit lighter, because feelings don't need to be hidden to be loved. They need to be heard to be understood. The fairy tale, The Button on the Heart? There was a boy named Tim who had an invisible button on his heart. Every time someone said something mean, the button would squeeze. When someone said something nice, it gave off a little glow. And when Tim said something bad to himself, it started to fade. He didn't understand why he sometimes felt sad for no reason, why his chest felt heavy. Until one night he had a strange dream. A kind man in an apron showed up with a feather behind his ear. He opened a little door in Tim's chest and said, "Here it is, your button. It's called worth. It doesn't break, but it feels everything. Can I hide it so it won't hurt? Number. But you can take care of it, and don't give it away to others." When Tim woke up, he made up a game. Every time he felt that pinch, he pictured gently placing his hand over the button and saying, "This matters. I won't be mean to myself." And after that, even when someone said something hurtful, the button only shook a little, because now Tim was the one pressing it, with care. The fairy tale, The Blanket Who Understood Everything. In one house lived a blanket, an ordinary one, gray-blue with soft tassels on the edges. It lay on the couch and waited, not because it was bored, but because it knew. Sometimes someone especially needs warmth. When a child came with tired eyes, the blanket would lift one corner slightly, as if calling, "Come here, I'll cover you." It didn't ask what happened. It didn't demand a smile. It simply wrapped around and hugged. Sometimes the child got angry and stomped their feet, sometimes cried, not knowing why, and the blanket wrapped tighter as if saying, "I don't need to understand everything, I'm just here with you." And then something magical happened. Within a few minutes, the breathing grew calmer, the shoulders softened, and in the chest appeared that very feeling. I'm not alone, I'm loved, even now. Since then, when the day was hard, the child would whisper, "Where's my understanding blanket?" And every time it was there, because care isn't loud words, it's someone who's simply there and knows when to cover you. The fairy tale, The Little Boat That Waited. The little duckling named Quill had a boat, not a real one, a paper one. But to Quill it was a whole world, with masts made of toothpicks and a flag where he drew a heart himself. Every morning, Quill would sail his boat through puddles in the yard, then he'd put it back in a box so no one could break it. But one day, Quill had a fight with his friends. He didn't sail the boat. "I'm bad," he whispered. "I don't even deserve my boat." He hid the box on the highest shelf. He thought the boat would be mad, that it would forget him, that it would leave. But the next day, when he opened the closet, he saw a note. On the tiny flag it said, "I'm still here. I didn't sail away." Quill cried, because someone stayed even when he had walked away. He took the boat out, gently touched it, and let it float through the prettiest puddle, and whispered, "Thank you for waiting." Because real care means staying, not just when everything's good, but especially when someone feels like they don't deserve it. The Fairy Tale, How the Little Bear Found His Sleep. Once in the forest, there lived a little bear named Timmy. He was still very small, fluffy with a round belly and round paws. He loved to play, laughed a lot, eat raspberries with a spoon, and climb a rock he called his mountain. But one evening, when the sun slowly went down behind the pine trees, Timmy realized he couldn't find his sleep. He yawned once, then again. He felt tired. His paws were heavy, his eyes stung a bit, and his ears started to drop. But sleep didn't come. It felt like it was lost, gone, hiding, vanished. "Where's my sleep?" Timmy whispered, and he went to look for it. Under the pillow, just quiet. First, Timmy looked under his pillow. He gently lifted it with his soft paw and asked, "Sleep, are you here?" But there was only quiet, that cozy evening quiet, the rest of moose, naps on books, and hides in the corners of the room. It moved a little, smiled, and went invisible again. "No, that's not sleep," said Timmy. Sleep felt softer, under the blanket, just warm. Timmy pulled the blanket over his head, ears sticking out. It was his favorite, yellow plate with a corner that smelled like Mom. "Sleep, are you under the blanket?" He listened. It felt nice there. It was warm. It felt like a light hideout. But Sleep didn't answer. No yawns, no sleepy whispers. Nope, just warm, Timmy sighed. My sleep usually whispers something kind, but the lamp just lied. Timmy looked at his lamp. It was shaped like the moon. It glowed yellow, swayed a bit, and sometimes winked. Lamp, did you see my sleep? The lamp made a tiny bzzz, like a little yawn, and its light got even softer. I just lied the way, it whispered. But sleep's not my thing, asked the one who hugs. From Bunny, just years. Timmy grabbed his stuffy bunny, Knoppa. Knoppa wasn't white anymore, more like creamy. His ears were long and stretchy, and one of his eyes always looked a bit sideways. Knoppa, do you know where my sleep is? The bunny just looked at him quietly. You were always there when sleep came. Knoppa gently flopped to the side and placed his paw on Timmy's tummy, but sleep didn't come. To Mom, on a path made of yarns. When Timmy went to his mom, he walked slowly, his paws dragging on the floor, his tail wiggled. It looked like he left behind a trail of yarns. Yarn, yarn, yarn. Mama Bear was sitting by the window, knitting something soft and warm. She saw Timmy right away. What's wrong, my honey bun? I lost my sleep. It was here, but now it's gone. I looked under the pillow, under the blanket, by the lamp with Knoppa. It's nowhere. Mom put down her knitting and picked Timmy up. He wasn't that little anymore, but to her he was always her baby. She hugged him close and said, Sleepy isn't a thing, Timmy. You can't put it on a shelf. It doesn't hide in the closet or sit in the corner. Then where is it? It comes when you feel calm, when you feel loved, when you feel safe. The nest of sleep. Mom tucked Timmy back into bed, fixed his pillow, smoothed his sheet, tucked the blanket under his feet, placed Knoppa next to him, turned the lamp to softest light. And then she sat beside him, placed her paw on his belly, and began to tell a story. A long time ago in the forest, there was a cloud who came down because it was looking for a friend. Her voice was slow and deep, like the evening. Timmy listened, at first carefully, then slowly. Then he didn't care how the story ended. His eyes were heavy, his breathing even, and a warm feeling filled his chest. That was sleep. It didn't come from outside. It came from inside when everything was in the right place, when it was safe, when Mom was near. Sleep stayed. In the morning, Timmy woke up. The lamp was off. Mom was asleep in the chair. Knoppa was under his arm. A little squish like had been in a blanket fight. Sleep was gone, but it left something behind. Lightness in his body, warmth in his paws, and a little smile. And from then on, whenever Timmy felt like he couldn't find his sleep, he just did the same thing. Hugged Knoppa, crawled under his favorite blanket, called for Mom, or whispered to himself, Sleep is near, I am safe, it's okay. And you, if one day you can't find your sleep, look under your pillow, snuggle up, hug your favorite toy, and remember, sleep is where you feel calm. Good night. The fairy tale, the kitten who caught the heaviness. Sometimes a girl named Rena felt a heaviness inside, not pain and not anger, just heavy, like someone put a little bag of rain on her chest. Breathing got harder, words disappeared, even her favorite toys didn't help. Rena didn't know how to explain it to grown-ups, so she stayed quiet and thought something was wrong with her. One day, a kitten came over, very quiet, on soft paws. He sat next to her, not on her lap, not in her hands, just next to her. "You're not alone," he said. "I know how to catch heaviness." Rena looked at him through tears, "But it's inside." "Then I'll sit on the outside until it leaves. Sometimes it takes time, but it gets lighter when you don't hide it." They sat in silence. The kitten purred softly, and little by little Rena could breathe easier. The rain bag felt lighter, like some of the drops had moved into the purring. Since then, when Rena felt heavy, she remembered, you don't always have to explain. Sometimes it's enough to have someone close who understands without words. The fairy tale, The Pebble Who Listened. By the lake there was a round little stone, not shiny, not bright, just smooth, warm, and very, very quiet. Almost no one noticed it until one day a sad little fox came to the lake. He sat down on the grass and whispered, "No one hears me. I say things, and everyone just walks past." He wasn't expecting an answer. He just sat there, staring at the water. Then, by accident, he put his paw on the stone. And something inside him felt a little softer. "You won't interrupt me, right?" the fox asked. The stone said nothing, but it felt like it was listening with its whole self. The fox told everything about his day, his fear, his hurt, his lonely heart, and the stone just stayed there, taking in every word like a whisper into the water. When the fox was done, he felt lighter. No one gave advice, but he felt something true, a period. His story mattered, just because someone listened. Since then, he carried the stone with him, and when someone felt bad, he'd say, "Put your paw on it, it listens, and I do too." The fairy tale, The Rug Who Listened. In one room, right next to the bed, there was a rug. It was small, round, with short fuzz and soft edges. No one really knew where it came from. One morning, it was just there, warm, cozy, and kind of understanding. But the most special thing, it could listen. Every morning, when the child got out of bed, the rug was the first to touch their feet. If the day started well, it tickled their toes a bit and said with its fluff, "Hey, little one, we've got this." And if the day was hard and the child came back with sad eyes, the rug just waited. It knew, no words needed. Just stay, be warm, be soft under small feet. Sometimes the child would stand on it and whisper, "I was angry today. I messed up. Someone said I'm weird." The rug didn't talk back. It didn't try to fix anything. It just listened, fully, with all its fuzz, with all its being. And somehow, it helped. Because someone knew what was going on inside, and didn't run away. Just stayed, quietly, truly. At night, the rug curled into itself, like it was falling asleep too, happy it was there when needed. It didn't solve problems, but it was there, and sometimes that's more than enough. The fairy tale around and nearby. Hedgehog Grisha loved silence. He lived in a cozy burrow under the moss, drank raspberry tea, and collected pretty stones. Sometimes he watched from his window as the animals played tag, laughed loudly, and called out to each other, but he never dared to join. What if I ruin everything, Grisha thought, or they think I'm boring? In the evenings, he would place his treasures in a little box labeled to share if someone stops by, but no one ever did. One day, as Grisha sat by the window again, a squirrel named Lily came up. "Why are you always alone here?" she asked, sitting down next to him. "I like being nearby, just not noisy. Can I sit nearby too?" From then on, Lily came to Grisha every evening. They didn't jump, shout, or run. They just drank tea and sorted stones. Then a mole joined them, and an owlet. Because sometimes friendship isn't about being loud, it's about simply being together, and not being asked to be someone else. The fairy tale, The Cake Made of Quiet. In Tim the little bear's class, it was his birthday. He didn't like noise, flags, or loud songs, but he really wanted to invite his friends. Tim was afraid the party would be boring, and no one would come. Who would want to sit quietly and drink tea with jam, he thought. Still, he wrote the invitations. He drew soft little clouds on them and added, "The party won't be loud, but it will be warm. Come if you like cozy things." On his birthday, Tim set the table. He put out the cups, baked a blueberry cake, and prepared a blanket for each guest. At first, no one came. Tim already thought he'd be alone. But then a fox named Nori peeked in. "Today I actually feel like being quiet. Can I join you?" Behind her came an owlet who hadn't slept well, then a rabbit who was tired of all the fuss, and even the noisiest wolf pup sat down and whispered, "Hey, this is actually nice." They ate cake, told stories, and listened to the sound of raindrops falling. It was the warmest birthday in the world. Because friendship isn't about being the same, it's about being truly together, just as you are. The fairy tale, The Little Bridge of Silence. Mouse Miko had just moved into a new home under a tree. Everything felt unfamiliar. The leaves, the smells, even the wind. He really wanted to find a friend but didn't know where to start. Every morning, he would step onto the path and pretend to look for acorns. But really, he was glancing at the neighbors, hoping someone might come over. One day, a turtle named Tilda walked by. She didn't say anything, just stood beside him and started looking for acorns too. "Are you new here too?" Mika whispered. "No," Tilda said. "I just remember what it's like to be alone." They walked side by side in silence, looking up at the sky, sometimes smiling, sometimes just breathing. The next day, Tilda came again, and again, no words. Soon they had a little ritual, morning walks without talking, and evening tea with mint leaves. And Miko realized sometimes friendship doesn't start with hello, but with silence, the kind where you feel understood. The fairy tale, the letter in the pocket. Little bear Finn had a secret. He missed his friend who had moved to another forest. They no longer built block towers, made up silly jokes, or built branch forts together. Finn often sat on a tree stump and stayed quiet. "Are you okay?" his mom would ask. Finn nodded, but his eyes looked sad. One day, he put on an old sweater, and in its pocket he found a small folded piece of paper. It was a letter from his friend. "If you ever feel lonely, remember how we built that tower and laughed. I'm with you, even if I'm far away." Finn smiled. He held the letter close to his chest, then gently put it back to carry with him. The next day, he saw a little rabbit sitting alone under a tree. Finn sat beside him and quietly asked, "Want me to show you the place where the echo hides?" That's how a new friendship began, first with silence, then with laughter. And the letter from his pocket, Finn passed it on, because he knew sometimes a small "I'm here" can be the beginning of something big. The fairy tale, the desk for two. When Owlet Ori came to school, all the seats were already taken. At every desk, someone was laughing with a friend, whispering secrets, spilling ink, or sharing cookies. "You can sit here," the teacher said, pointing to the last desk by the window. There sat Remy the young badger. He was big, quiet, and always drawing something in his notebook. Ori sat down beside him, trying not to get in the way. For the first few days they hardly spoke. Ori thought Remy didn't want to be friends. But then he noticed that in Remy's drawings there was now an owlet, one that looked a lot like him, first sitting on a branch, then on a rainbow, and then riding on a badger's back as if they were flying together. "Did you draw me?" Ori asked quietly. Remy nodded and handed him another sheet of paper. On it was written, "I'm just not good at talking right away, but I'm glad you're here." From then on, they shared the desk, the drawings, the pie, and every recess. Because sometimes friendship doesn't begin with words, but with simply sitting beside someone and knowing they see you. The fairy tale, The Chick Who Feared the Wind. High up in a tree, in a cozy nest, lived a little chick named Flick. He could already do so much, spread his wings, flap them, even hop along the branch, but flying, he didn't dare. "What if the wind carries me away?" he whispered to his mom. "Or I fall, or I mix up the sky and the ground." Mom smiled and never rushed him. "Everyone has their own time to take off," she said. Every day, Flick watched the other chicks rise into the sky, play in the clouds, and he dreamed of trying it just once, but the fear was stronger. One night he had a dream. In it, Flick wasn't afraid. He was flying, free, high, as if his wings knew the way on their own. He woke up with trembling feathers and a quiet thought. What if I really can? In the morning, he stepped to the edge of the branch. The wind blew. Flick closed his eyes, remembered the dream, and stepped off. At first he was falling, but then he caught the air and he flew. He shouted from joy, not from fear, because he understood. Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means taking the step, even when you are. The fairy tale, The Shadows Under the Bed. Every evening when the room grew dark, little mouse Toby climbed into bed and pulled the blanket up to his nose. He wasn't afraid of the dark itself, he was afraid of what might be in the dark, especially under the bed. Down there, it seemed, lived rustles, sighs, and something that definitely had whiskers. What if it comes out, Toby thought, and notices I'm breathing? Mom brought a nightlight, Dad checked under the bed. Even a lamp with a friendly face stood beside him, but Toby still froze before sleep. One evening, a cat named Musia came to visit. She loved sleeping under the bed. "It's so cozy down there," she purred. "I even found an old slipper and a tiny pillow." "There's no one there?" Toby asked. "Only me. But if you want, we can swap. You sleep under the bed and I'll take the top." Toby stared down for a long moment. His heart was pounding, but he suddenly wanted to try. He crawled under the bed. The lamp shone from above. It was cool, soft, and quiet. "That's it," Toby whispered. Musia nodded and yawned. "Fear isn't a monster, it's just a thought, and thoughts can be moved around." From that night on, Toby wasn't afraid anymore. He knew if you peek under fear's tail, it turns out to be just an ordinary shadow. The fairy tale, I'm not like everyone, and that's good. In the forest school, all kinds of animals studied together. The fox wrote quickly and beautifully. The hedgehog knew every star by name. The little bear was the strongest of all. And the bunny lily was quieter than the wind. She loved sitting in the corner, watching the dust motes dance in the sunlight. "You're too slow," they told her. "Why aren't you like everyone else?" Lily stayed silent, but inside her lived so much. Stories, feelings, whole magical worlds. One day, the school announced a story contest. Everyone wrote quickly, loudly sharing ideas. Lily thought for a long time. Then, she sat down and wrote one. It was about a magical dust mote that traveled the world, bringing light to those who were afraid of the dark. When the teacher read her story, the classroom went completely quiet. Even the squirrel on the ceiling stopped jumping. "You wrote this?" the animals asked. "Yes," Lily nodded. From that day on, no one asked her to be like everyone else, because they understood we're all different, and that's the wonder, and the quietest ones often hear the most important things. The fairy tale, The Bunny-Shaped Hot Water Bottle. In one house lived a hot water bottle. It was tucked inside a soft plush cover with long ears. just like a bunny. Whenever someone's tummy grumbled or their cheeks grew warm, it was filled with hot water and placed into a bed. But the hot water bottle could do more than just warm. It could listen. It soaked up sadness, tiredness, and tears, quietly, silently, without interrupting. It especially loved helping a boy named Tim. Tim had an anxious day, and his stomach ached from worry, not from a cold. "They didn't notice me," Tim whispered to the hot water bottle. "They told me, stop imagining things. But I really do feel it." The hot water bottle only grew warmer and pressed gently against his side. It didn't argue, it didn't explain. It was simply there, fully, completely. Tim closed his eyes. "It's like you're saying, I'm here, and I don't need you to be cheerful. I just want you to be warm." And he did feel warmer on the inside too. Since then, even when Tim grows up, the hot water bottle will stay with him, because care isn't always about words. Sometimes it's a warm, quiet presence with ears. The fairy tale, When the Pillow Cries. In the room where a girl named Nika lived, there was a very special pillow. It looked ordinary, white, with a soft pillowcase and a small embroidery in the corner. But this pillow could hear tears. Whenever Nika couldn't fall asleep because she felt heavy inside, she would lie down on the pillow, and it would warm up just a little, as if saying, "I'm here, you can cry, I can hold it all." One day, Nika had a very sad day. On the walk, her friend said something hurtful. At school, her drawing didn't turn out the way she wanted. And at home, her mom was tired and didn't notice that Nika wasn't smiling at all. That night, the girl hid under the blanket and cried, quietly so no one could hear. But the pillow heard. It moved a little closer to her cheek, grew warmer, and cried too, just a tiny bit, so Nika wouldn't feel alone. "You're sad with me too?" Nika whispered. "A little," the pillow answered, "because sometimes to make things lighter, you just need to be there." Nika sighed, hugged the pillow tighter, and for the first time that day felt understood. The tears stopped stinging her eyes, her heart grew calmer, and sleep came. And the pillow stayed on guard, because sometimes the strongest support is simply being there, without asking for a smile. The fairy tale, The Little Bear Who Knew How to Wait. Eva had a favorite teddy bear. During the day he sat on the windowsill, and at night he moved under her pillow. His fur was worn in places, one ear leaned slightly to the side, but he was the most reliable bear in the world. Eva didn't always want to talk. Sometimes she came home from school and stayed silent, not because she was upset, but because her words were hiding deep inside. The grown-ups often asked, "What happened? Tell us, don't stay quiet." And that made Eva hide even more. But her teddy bear Tick never asked questions. He just sat beside her, sometimes on her lap, sometimes in the corner of the bed, sometimes right next to her face, just being there, quietly, without explanations. 10 minutes would pass, half an hour, sometimes the whole evening. And then Eva would take his paw and suddenly whisper, "Today someone yelled at me, for no reason," or "I accidentally tore my drawing, I feel ashamed," or "I'm tired of being good, can I just be here with you?" Tick never answered back, but in his silence there was so much acceptance that Eva felt safe. Because care isn't about fixing, it's about knowing how to wait until someone is ready to share and never rushing their heart. The Fairy Tale. The Scarf Who Knew the Way Home. In one city lived a boy named Leo. He was kind, but often got lost in his own thoughts. He'd forget why he came into a room, feel scared when things were too noisy, and get tired from being around too many people. The world felt loud, fast, and not very cozy. One day his mom knitted him a scarf, long, soft, and the color of the morning sun. "This scarf is like me, only made of yarn," she said. "It'll be with you, even when I'm not nearby." The scarf turned out to be special. It didn't just keep him warm, it seemed to know when Leo felt uneasy. If he got lost in a noisy shop, the scarf would hug his neck a little tighter. If he wanted to hide, it would wrap around to cover his cheeks like a cocoon. And one day, when Leo started crying right there on the street, the scarf soaked up his tears and whispered, "I'm here. Home is closer than you think." And sure enough, a few steps later, Leo saw a familiar bench, then the corner turn, and then the warm light from his window. Since then, wherever Leo went, the scarf went too. It didn't speak loudly, didn't glow, didn't fly, but it always reminded him of one important thing. Sometimes care is something you can wrap around your neck and feel. You're not alone. The Fairy Tale, the Snail, and the Fast Day. In the garden, where everything was always in a hurry, bees buzzed, ants rushed back and forth, and the wind hurried the leaves along, lived a snail named Lori. Lori was never in a rush. She didn't hurry through breakfast, didn't rush to speak, and even smiled slowly. To the others, this seemed strange. "Lori, you're last again. Why are you so slow?" Lori quietly stepped aside and went on being herself. One day, trouble came to the garden. After a heavy rain, part of the path was washed away, and an ant named Tito got lost. Everyone ran around calling for him, but no one knew where he might have gone. "He once said he likes the old oak," Lori suddenly remembered. "I know the way there, but it's a long, narrow path." While the others rushed about in panic, Lori began her slow, careful crawl, and sure enough, under the oak, wet and sad, sat Tito. "You came," he whispered. Lori covered him with her shell and helped him find the way back. Since then, no one laughed at her slowness again, because speed isn't always about legs. Sometimes getting there just means knowing the way and not hurrying past the important turns. The Fairy Tale, The Sheep Who Couldn't Play Ball. In a field where daisies grew and larks sang, happy little animals played together. Every evening they gathered to play ball, jumping, running, shouting, and laughing. But one sheep named Elle never joined in. She stood to the side, watching the others kick the ball so easily. "Why don't you play?" asked Finn the young goat. "I don't know how," Elle said quietly. "I'm afraid I'll miss, and that everyone will laugh." Finn thought for a moment, then said, Let's just run together. No ball, just side by side. And they ran, slowly, carefully, but together. Then Finn gently passed the ball to Elle. She kicked it and missed. But Finn laughed kindly. That was a perfect gust of wind you made. Elle sonrió por primera vez. The next day she came again, and again she missed. But no one laughed, because now the game wasn't about winning, it was about being together. A few days later, the ball rolled straight into the goal, and the whole field burst with joy. From then on, Elle played every evening, because real friendship isn't about being good at it. It's about not being afraid to be yourself when someone beside you believes in you. The fairy tale, The Letter in the Pocket. Little Bear Finn had a secret. He missed his friend who had moved to another forest. They no longer built block towers, made up silly jokes, or built branch forts together. Finn often sat on a tree stump and stayed quiet. "Are you okay?" his mom would ask. Finn nodded, but his eyes looked sad. One day, he put on an old sweater, and in its pocket he found a small folded piece of paper. It was a letter from his friend. "If you ever feel lonely, remember how we built that tower and laughed. I'm with you, even if I'm far away." Finn smiled. He held the letter close to his chest, then gently put it back to carry with him. The next day, he saw a little rabbit sitting alone under a tree. Finn sat beside him and quietly asked, "Want me to show you the place where the echo hides?" That's how a new friendship began, first with silence, then with laughter. And the letter from his pocket, Finn passed it on, because he knew sometimes a small "I'm here" can be the beginning of something big. The fairy tale Two Umbrellas and One Sun. On a bench by the pond stood two umbrellas. One was blue with white polka dots, the other red with yellow stripes. They lived side by side, but never spoke. The blue umbrella thought, "That red one is too noisy, always chatting and waving its spokes around." And the red umbrella thought, "That blue one is such a bore, always quiet, standing stiff like a stick." One day, heavy rain began to fall. A boy ran under the blue umbrella, a girl under the red. But the bench was so windy, both umbrellas began to shake. Suddenly, a gust of wind lifted them up, and they tangled together. "Hey!" the red one shouted. "Careful!" whispered the blue. Then they realized, when they held on to each other, neither of them got blown away. Together they kept the children safe from the rain and wind, stronger than before. When the rain stopped, the children ran ahead, but the umbrellas stayed side by side. "You held up well," said the blue. "So did you," said the red. "Sorry I seemed too loud?" "Sorry I seemed too cold." From then on, they stood closer, sometimes even touching handles, because friendship isn't about being the same. It's about being able to shelter someone from the rain, even if your colors are completely different. The fairy tale How the Feelings Fell Asleep. Inside one child's head lived a whole bunch of emotions. There was joy, always jumping, laughing, and reading like a little bell. There was Fair, quietly sitting in the corner, sometimes scared of the fridge sound. Surprise was there too, always staring at the ceiling asking, "Why don't stars fall down?" And the boredom always drying out. I have nothing to do, even with a million toys around. But the nicest one to be around was Calm. Calm didn't talk much, but had warm hands and a voice like a soft rain. Every night before bed, the emotions started arguing. "I still want to run through some fun memories," said Joy. "I'm pretty sure I heard something." "Can we check under the bed?" said Fear. "Do you see that shadow on the ceiling? It's totally alive," said Surprise. "I am bored," rolled it boredom again. And the child just couldn't fall asleep. But one night, Calm showed up quietly. It didn't yell. It just tucked everyone under a blanket, turned on the firefly lamp, placed a cup of silence nearby, and said, "You all did your best today. Every one of you matters, but now it's rest time. Tonight I am in charge." And all inside the child's head, everything felt warm. The thoughts slowed down, the emotions got quiet, and the child fell asleep, feeling that everything was okay, and Calm watched over the sleep until morning. The fairy tale, The Little House Under the Dandelion. Under a tall dandelion with its fluffy white poof swaying in the wind lived a little frog named Loop. His home was hidden among green leaves, and the roof was a big clover leaf. But the best part, it always smelled like mint, freshness, and a little bit of magic. Loop wasn't just a frog, he was the keeper of quiet. He didn't jump loudly, didn't clap his paws, and even spoke in a soft whisper. All the animals knew if you want to relax, take a break from worries, and just be still, you went to Loop. Every evening the animals came to his little home. The squirrel brought a pine-cone to cuddle, the hedgehog brought crunchy leaves that sounded like stories, and the little owl brought his soft "whoo" instead of music. They all settled in, some on moss, some on soft cloth, some leaning on the wall, and just listened. Loop sat quietly in the corner making a dandelion petal tea. Rain tapped gently on the roof, and it was perfect sound for falling asleep. No one rushed sleep, no one asked, "Are you sleeping yet?" Because Loop knew the secret. Sleep comes to places that are quiet, warm, and where you can just be yourself. And if one day you hear raindrops and smell mint, maybe you're close to the Loop's little home. The fairy tale, The Elephant in Pajamas. In the quietest village where the wind gently touches the grass and stars show up right at 9, lived a big kind elephant. His name was Boomsy. Every evening when the sun started to hide behind the hills, Boomsy put on his favorite pajamas, soft, striped, with a little pocket for candy. Boomsy was a special elephant. He loved reading bedtime stories, but not to anyone else, just to himself. He'd would sit on a big pillow, grab a thick book, fix his glasses, and start reading out loud, slowly with feeling. Once upon a time, there was a little bunny. He'd begin, who wanted to become Cloud. While reading, Boomsy sometimes yawned. Then again, and by page 3 his eyes would close, his ears would drop, and the book would slowly slide from his paw. But the funny thing was, every morning, Boomsy woke up with the book open to page 4. He always knew where he left off. And the best part, he'd wake up with the warmest smile, like he'd seen the rest of the story in his dream. No one knew how it worked. Maybe the stories read themselves to him at night, or maybe his pajamas were a little bit magic. But one thing's for sure, Boomsy's dreams were always sweet. Even the stars looking at him through the window seemed to smile a little brighter. Good night. Don't forget your pajamas. The fairy tale, the sleepers that could lull you to sleep. Once, in an old but very cozy room, lived a pair of sleepers. They looked simple, soft, round at the toes and a little worn from time. But they had a secret. The sleepers could help you fall asleep. Every evening when the child, their little owner, came home, the sleepers stood by the bed like they were waiting. As soon as little feet slipped inside, a warm feeling spread through the body like a hug from a favorite blanket. The sleepers would start to gently rock, like tiny heads rocking someone to sleep. Sometimes they hummed quiet tunes that no one else knew. Sometimes they whispered stories right into the souls, so they'd go straight to the heart. Sometimes they just stayed quiet, but in such a kind way that even noisy thoughts got calm. The child would put them on, sit on the bed, and yawn by the third step. By the fourth, they were already under the blanket, and every time they fell asleep with a smile. But the real magic of sleepers was that they remembered all good things from the day, every happy moment, every small win, and while rocking they would remind, you were kind, you tried your best, you deserve rest, everything is okay. In the morning, the sleepers were back by the bed like nothing happened, just with a tiny smell of sleep and warm happiness. And you know, maybe you have a pair like that too. The fairy tale, the fox who kept the quiet. In a place where morning smelled like strawberries, lived a little fox named Shusha. She wasn't just any fox, she was the keeper of quiet. She had a fluffy tail, soft paws, and a voice that sounded like wind in the leaves. Every evening, when the trees stopped moving and the animals went into their burrows, Shusha came out of the forest and tiptoed to the houses. She didn't scare anyone. She came when someone couldn't fall asleep. She lay down on the roof, covered the house with calm, and do the most important thing: collect all the noisy thoughts into an invisible basket. Sleep. everything loud has already gone to rest, she whispered. And just like that, the little one stopped tossing in the bed. The mom stopped worrying about tomorrow, and even the clock started ticking softer, because Shusha was keeping the quiet all the way till the morning. The fairy tale, The Sleepy Little Clock. On the nightstand stood a little clock, round with golden hands and a soft ticking sound. During the day it ticked loud and clear. Tick-tock, tick-tock, time to get up, time to play, time to build, jump, and laugh. It was very busy. During the day, it helped everyone be on time for walks, reminded when to wash up, and even told how long until lunch. But in the evening, something magical happened. As soon as the light outside started to fade, the little clock changed. It got quieter, its ticking slowed down, like it was getting sleeping too. Tick-tock, it sounded now. The second hand stopped rushing. It stretched every moment, letting the evening feel longer, softer, calmer. And if you listened really closely, you could hear the clock begin to tell a story, not just a tick, actually tell a bedtime story. The story of time, it whispered. In the sky, the sun is slowly taking off its head and saying goodbye. The moon has put on her nightshirt and fluffed her cloud pillow. The stars just wash their faces in silver dust and are ready to shine, but softly, so no one wakes up. When the clock said, "Now it's time for something special, sleep time." You can't see it, but everyone feels it. Toys start to get sleepy, blankets feel warmer, pillows feel softer, and anyone lying in the bed listening started to yawn, slowly, big yawns, the cozy kind. The Little Listener. In one room lived a boy named Archie. He was full of energy. All day he jumped, built block towers, raced cars, and at night he never wanted to go to bed. "Just a little longer," he said every evening. "I'm not sleepy at all." But Mom just smiled. She knew the little clock on the nightstand was already yawning. The story of time had already started. She turned on the nightlight, fixed his blanket, and said, "Just lie down and listen to sleepy clock." Archie grumbled, but he lay down, and soon he heard tick-tock. Everything in the world is slowing down. Even the raindrops on the window are falling slower. Even the wind is whispering now. The magic hand. Sometimes Archie imagined the minute hand was a magic wand. It would touch each toy and said, "Sleep now, little car, you were so brave today. Sleep now, teddy bear, you gave the best hugs. Sleep now, pillow, you held sweet dreams all night." And everything felt calm. The second hand made soft circle like ripples in the water. Each circle was yawn, each one a deep breath and a step closer to sleep. Tick-tock. Sometimes the clock paused for a second, didn't move at all, and in that moment there was full silence. The kind that gives you tiny shivers, the cozy kind. That's when all the busy thoughts in Archie's head turned soft, even the worried ones from the day. In the silence, he felt like the world didn't want anything, didn't rush him, didn't pull him, just gave him a hug. Then again, tick, tack. Sometimes, right before sleep, Archie saw the street light outside change too. It got softer, like it was smiling, and it felt like even the whole street was falling asleep with him. The little clock knew the whole world is connected. One yawn here and someone far away is falling asleep too. And quieter. Every minute, the ticking got slower, not because the clock was broken, but because it knew, for sleep to come, time has to slow down. And soon Archie started yawning with the clock. His eyes closed slowly like window curtains. His breathing matched the riff. Inhale, pause, exhale. Inhale, pause, exhale. And at that moment, the little clock stopped talking. It knew the story had worked. Morning. In the morning, the clock was loud and carefully again. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Good morning. Archie opened his eyes, smiled, and didn't even remember when he fell asleep. But he always woke up rested, because the night before, he simply listened to the sleepy clock. And if you can't fall asleep, just listen closely. Maybe there's a little clock near you that's young too. Tick, tack. Good night. The fairy tale, The Little Lion and the Rainy Walk. Little Lion Lou lived in a sunny valley and couldn't stand the rain. Ugh, it's wet, cold, and full of puddles, he complained every time the drops began to fall. He would hide in his cave, wrap himself in a blanket, and watch sadly as the other animals ran around under their umbrellas. But one day, his best friend, Rabbit Max, invited him for a walk. "We're going to look for a rainbow," Max said excitedly. "In the rain?" Lou asked, startled. "Well, yeah, you don't get rainbows without rain," Max winked. Lou hesitated, but then he put on his brightest raincoat, grabbed an umbrella, and carefully stepped outside. At first, it felt strange. The raindrops tickled his whiskers. The ground squelched under his paws. But then, he heard how cheerfully the rain tapped on the leaves. He saw how the drops bounced on the rocks, and he realized he wasn't melting, he wasn't soaked through. He was simply living in this day. And you know what? They found a rainbow, a real one. Its colors were just like Lou, bright, bold, and true. From then on, whenever it rained, Lou was the first to grab his umbrella. Because courage isn't when you feel no fear, it's when you step outside and take the fear with you. The fairy tale, The Pebble That Didn't Shine. By the lake, among the sparkling stones, lay one very ordinary pebble. It wasn't bright, grayish, with a little crack on the side. Every morning the sun played with the glossy surfaces of its neighbors, while this pebble quietly hid in the shade. "I'm not shiny. I'm not interesting, he thought. Who would want to put me in their pocket or show me to their friends? Animals would pass by, picking the brightest stones, and the gray one just stayed there. One day, a hedgehog came along. He wasn't looking for something pretty. He was looking for something real. He walked over, picked up the gray pebble, ran his paw gently over the crack and said, "Wow, you're so warm, and it looks like there's a pattern inside you, like the rings of a tree." The pebble froze. No one had ever looked at him like that before. "You're special," the hedgehog added. "I can feel it. You're real." From then on, the pebble didn't become shinier, but he stopped hiding because he understood. To shine isn't about the light on the outside. It's about the warmth inside and those who notice it. The fairy tale, The Little Elephant and His Too Loud Laugh. Little Elephant Bim laughed very loudly. When he was happy, not only did he laugh, the leaves on the trees laughed, the dishes in the cupboard rattled, and even the snails jumped in surprise. "Bim, quieter," they often asked. "You laugh like thunder in July. Your laugh makes my ears tremble." So Bim started holding back. He no longer laughed out loud. He only smiled into his whiskers. But inside, it felt like someone had trapped spring in a jar and wouldn't let it bloom. One day, he went to the forest theater. A frog was performing, a very funny one. And suddenly, bam! A joke that made Bim's real laugh burst out, loud, rolling across the whole clearing. The theater went silent. And then someone chuckled, then another, then the whole audience laughed. "You laugh so much that even sadness runs away," the frog said. "We've all been missing this Bim." From then on, Bim never hid his laugh again, because he understood being yourself doesn't mean being quiet. It means being real, even if you sound like a celebration. The fairy tale Sadness in a Jar. Little bear Nolly had a special jar. It stood on the shelf, closed tightly with a lid. Inside lived his sadness. Every time he felt out of place, clumsy, or lonely, he would put a small blue marble into the jar, and right away, close the lid tight. "No one should see this," he thought. "I'm supposed to be happy and strong." But with each day, the jar grew heavier, until one day, boom, the lid popped off, and all the blue marbles rolled across the floor. "Oh no," Nolly gasped. "Now everyone will know." But right there was Mia the squirrel. She sat down beside him and began picking up the marbles. "They're beautiful," she said. "So deep. Are these your feelings?" "Yes," Nolly whispered. "I didn't know what to do with them." Mia looked at him gently. "You can just be. With them, no hiding yourself." They gathered the marbles, placed them into a soft little pouch, and hung it in the window so the sunlight could fall on them. Since then, Nolly never closed the lid again, because he understood. Feelings aren't meant to be hidden. They're meant to stay close so they won't scare you. The fairy tale, the most important word. Puppy Leo had one little habit. He almost never said no. When someone asked to borrow his toy, he gave it. When they invited him to play loud games that gave him a headache, he went, even if he really wanted to stay home. It's polite, Leo thought. What if they get upset? But every night he went to bed feeling tired, as if with every yes there was less of him left. One day he met a turtle named Lynn. She always spoke calmly and clearly. No, I can't today. No, I don't like that. No, thank you. Leo was surprised. And no one calls you names? No, Lynn smiled, but I do feel like myself. Leo decided to try. First, a quiet, no, I don't feel like it. Then, a little louder, no, I'm resting right now. And then, even confidently, no, this is mine, and I'm not ready to share. And guess what? The world didn't fall apart. His friends stayed, and Leo felt stronger. Because courage isn't always about dragons and big speeches. Sometimes it's just an honest no that says, I respect myself. The fairy tale, the umbrella that kept fears away. A boy had an old umbrella. It stood by the door, simple and warm, with a hook handle and a button you had to click to open it. During the day, it was just an umbrella, but at night, it became a guard. Every evening when the lights went off, the umbrella slowly started to move. It opened by itself, no click, and gently floated up, softly, like it didn't want to wake anyone. It flew over the boy's bed and stayed above him like an invisible dome. The light from the street lamp slid gently over its dark fabric. Sometimes little fairies peeked out from the corners of the room. They were all different. One rustled, one had a long shadow, and one just felt cold. They crept closer, whispered, stretched, but the umbrella didn't let them in. It turned toward them and said, very quietly and very calmly, No, you can't come here. This is a quiet place. This is a resting place. My child is here. And the fears faded away like raindrops breaking on the fabric. The boy never knew, he just slept. Sometimes he turned over, sometimes he smiled, sometimes he hugged his pillow and kept on dreaming. And the umbrella watched over him until morning. When the sun peeked through the window, it gently folded itself and returned to the door, like nothing ever happened. But it knew the job was done and fear had lost again. And the umbrella watched over him until morning. When the sun peeked through the window, it gently folded itself and returned to the door, like nothing ever happened. But it knew the job was done and fear had lost again. The fairy tale, Little Lamb Lee and the Shadow on the Wolf. There was a little light bulb named Lee living on the ceiling. She wasn't too bright, but not too dim either. Her light was special, warm and golden, like the light in Grandma's kitchen. During the day, she just hung there, watching games, books, dances in front of the mirror, and tea parties with teddy bears. But in the evening, when the big light turned off, light bulb lit truly woke up. She didn't turn on with a loud click, like other lights. She light up slowly, like a soft breeze before sleep. One night, the boy got into bed, closed his eyes, and saw a strange shadow on the wall. It was big, dark, and looked like it was moving. "Mom," he called out. Mom came in, patted his head, and left, but the shadow stayed. "Lee," the boy whispered, "I'm scared." "What is that?" Light bulb Lee glowed a little brighter. Her light spread gently across the walls, like hands softly touching the room. "Look," she said, "it's just your robe hanging on the back of the chair, and next to it, your book with a bookmark. A shadow only feels scary when you don't know what making it." And it was true. As soon as Lee light up the corner, the scary shadow was gone. It turned into cozy, familiar things. Everything was simple again. The boy smiled and closed his eyes, and Lee kept shining, just a little, so he knew if he ever got scared again, she'd show him everything. Outside the window and on the wall, everything was safe in her light and in her care. The fairy tale, the room where monsters disappeared. A little girl had a very special room. During the day, it looked like any other. A bed, a bookshelf, stuffed animals, and her favorite blanket with stars. But at night it turned magical, because this room knew how to get rid of monsters. Yes, they came sometimes. One had long arms, another had one big eye in the middle of its head, and one was just plain darkness with no shape at all. They crawled in the corners, whispered under the bed, and tried to be scared. But the room was smart. If something hid under the bed, the floor would creak in such a funny way that the monsters giggled and disappeared. If something peeked out of the closet, the door would swing open and music would start playing. Happy, kind music. The kind you want to dance to, not scare anyone with. If something trying to whisper in the dark, the little lamp in the corner would suddenly light up and say, "Hey, we can see you. So many eyes, but did you even wash your face?" And the monster would vanish, all of them, without a trace, because in this room there was no space for fear, only for soft dreams, light thoughts, and plushy hugs. The girl didn't know about all these tricks. She just fell asleep under her blanket, hugging her favorite raccoon, feeling safe and calm. The room protected her, at night and always. The fairy tale, the cat who put worries to sleep. In a warm little house lived an old cat. His name was Russell. He was fluffy, striped, and a little serious. During the day, he loved to nap on the windowsill, soak up the sun, and watch the crow that always walked along the fence. But at night, he had an important job. When everything in the house went to sleep, the kettle, the books, even the slippers, Russell jumped down from the windowsill and went to check on his person, a small one with soaked cheeks and warm little breaths. Sometimes everything was fine, but sometimes little worries showed up in the child's head. He turned under the blanket, sighed, held his hands to his chest like his heart was beating too loud. Russell sighed too, jumped onto the bed and lie down close. He always knew the right spot. By the feet, if tomorrow felt scary. By the tummy, if there were too many thoughts. But most often, right on the pillow, close to the ear. And he started to purr. His purr wasn't just it was like a wave, like the forest breathing, like the sound of safety. Burf, brr, he said. It's okay. Everything moving the way it should. You're not alone. I'm here. Sleep. And the worries calmed down. They got smaller, smaller, and disappeared, like someone was gently petting them from the inside, saying, time to sleep now, all of you. The child drifted off, his face relaxed, his breathing became steady, and Russell kept purring, right to the end until he was sure everything was calm. Only then did he go back to the windowsill, and maybe no one saw it, but the night was safe.